Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Lieutenant Colonel Casey Huston's retirement ceremony. Today, the men and women of the 492nd Special Operations Wing pay special tribute to Lieutenant Colonel Huston in honor of his retirement from active duty and his 20 years, 4 months of distinguished service to the United States Air Force and his country. The presiding officer for today's ceremony is Colonel Caleb Nimmo. I am Master Sergeant Michael J. Holman, and I will be the Master of Ceremonies for today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party, the playing of the national anthem, and the invocation by Lieutenant Rutland. Present the colors.
Colors! Attention, hut! Port, hump! Forward, march! Present, hump! Hump! Coasters, hump!
If you're willing, please join me in prayer. Father, we thank you for this day and for the opportunity to honor Lieutenant Colonel Huston today. We praise you for bringing him safely through 20 years of active service. We thank you for his family who shared in the sacrifice of service over those years. We bless you for the impact that his leadership has had on the lives of many. As Lieutenant Colonel Huston moves into a new season of life, we ask that you would bless and guide him. Make him generous with the wisdom that he has gained. Let the friendships that he has made along the way endure. Fill him with joy and a renewed sense of purpose. Thank you that you care for us and that you rejoice with us as we celebrate Lieutenant Colonel Huston today. May the years which lie ahead be rich, and may they bear eternal fruit for your glory. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you to the Pearlbird Honor Guard and Lieutenant Rutland. I would like to take a moment and recognize Lieutenant Colonel Huston's special guests that are with us today. Please hold your applause until the end. Lieutenant Colonel Huston's spouse, Sarah. Their children, Bailey, Brody, Sage, and Sienna. His mother, Sharon. His father, Doug, and stepmother, Sandra. His sister, Anna, and her husband, Alex, along with their children. His uncle, Iowa Army National Guard Colonel Steve Huston, retired. And all of his aunts, uncles, cousins, and close family and friends. And to all the commanders, chiefs, and special guests, thank you for being with us today. The military retirement ceremony is a time-honored tradition conducted to recognize the years of service a military member devoted to the defense of their country. Today we honor Lieutenant Colonel Huston on the occasion of his retirement after 20 years of service. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce Colonel Caleb Nimmo.
Gotta put on my old man goggles real quick. All right, good morning, everyone. First off, I want to thank the Honor Guard for their fantastic presentation of the colors and Chaplain Rutland for that wonderful invocation. What a great day for a celebration of a phenomenal career and the fantastic Huston family who came together and stayed together, sprinting to the finish line in a global adventure of service. Your noble sacrifices have culminated in this distinguished capstone, a formal ceremony of honorable retirement from active duty and a lifetime of service to our grateful country. I want to thank you, Casey, for this honor and privilege to preside over this most important ceremony, where we will take a look back over 20 years of excellence and send you out the door with sadness in our hearts that you have to leave, but gladness that we were able to know you while you were here. Your family served this great nation well, and we couldn't be prouder. Sarah, Bailey, Brody, Sage, Sienna, thank you for your steadfast support for your husband, for your father. He would not be the resounding success he is today without your countless sacrifices, some of which we will reminisce about today. I want to tell you all a story today. Now, for pilots to tell a story in the Air Force, it only has to be about 10% true. That's the rule, but I'm going to try and get this story as close to 100% as I can from what I have understood, with minimal embellishment as the mood deems appropriate. Anything that I get wrong, I attribute to too many birthdays and other trivial fun facts like helicopter flight characteristics and such that I've had to store in my 45-year-old brain over the years. This is a story of romance, adventure, sacrifice, family, and most importantly, love. Let's go back to the beginning. Casey was born at a young age. Fast forward a few years and he attended Central College in Pella, Iowa. He was studying exercise science, and it is here where he made one of the most significant discoveries of all time, his wife Sarah. There was instant chemistry between them, and I mean literally as they were lab partners. Casey realized his windfall fortune and he married Sarah in 2002. Now, they were both from Iowa, as most of the family that's here today is, and she had no military background in her immediate family at the time. So Casey did the safe thing, and he moved her out to San Antonio while he went off to officer training school at Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama. As I understand it, this is where Casey first met Bailey out by I-65. I believe it was Bass Pro Shop.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And that location will be significant as we come around later in life as we work through this story with Montgomery. This will be significant, again, later in their story. In San Antonio, away from their families, Sarah and Casey would learn how to become parents in a 500-square-foot apartment with Bailey's crib in the closet. It's awesome. Now, some of you all know having a new baby is like suddenly getting the world's worst roommate. And you moms know that once you sign on to be a mother, there's only one shift that they offer, and that's 24/7, right? And a quote from most moms, "I don't want to sleep like a baby, I want to sleep like my husband." At least that's what my wife would say. I don't know. Maybe other husbands are better than me. On the upside, Uncle Lon. I'm looking for him. I know he's there. He is. He was in the area. He was not too far away. He was in Dallas. They were in San Antonio. So they were able to go and get that much-needed family support and have some great holiday fun. Sarah is working, though, taking care of a lady with Alzheimer's. Bailey is starting to crawl and showing early signs of superior athletic prowess. Little foreshadowing. Meanwhile, Second Lieutenant Huston is pushing through the 35 weeks of navigator training at Randolph. He excelled in academics and airmanship phases, holding a 96% average and supervising 31 officers, which is pretty unique for young lieutenants, especially operators, to be supervising that early on. But there is foreshadowing here. He was made to perform magnificently, and he was a natural-born leader. In 2004, the family moved to Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska. Casey wanted RCs so that Sarah could be closer to family. This would be their first experience living on base housing, and it went pretty well, pretty good. Here they started to make bonds with others in our Air Force family. Bailey is going to home daycare and hanging out with Mom, and Sarah is working in construction with ATC. I'll note that is very difficult to carry on a career and bounce around from state to state, and this is pretty common for a lot of our spouses. But Sarah demonstrated maximum flexibility with grace and tenacity. Bailey continues to get out in front of his peers, and he is playing baseball with the YMCA by the time he is 3 years old. First Lieutenant Huston excelled in all phases of RC-135 initial qualification training. Additionally, he was described with words such as outstanding, sharp, exceptional, professional. They would put him in front of 700 distinguished visitors and 200 general officers when they wanted to show their very best airmen. He was the best. Casey upgraded all the way to evaluator navigator on his first assignment at Offutt. Additionally, he was given more leadership responsibility as a flight commander when he moved to Mildenhall in the United Kingdom in 2008. While stationed at Mildenhall, they lived in a quaint village of Herringslow in a magical house called the Red House. Now, the Red House used to be the town pub, and so Sarah and Casey had to carry on the tradition, hosting many families for good times with great potluck dinners. As the winters grew colder, the Hustons moved to Ashley because the Red House was too damn cold. There they moved into Potter's Cottage, where Brady was born in 2010. And the strong bond that is still today started to develop between brothers. Bailey started a proper British education. I think he still speaks with a little bit of an accent. And the family received many guests from the States, as you do when you live in a place worth visiting. The family traveled to many fine locations on this adventure. Rota, Spain, France, skiing in Garmisch. Casey even ran a marathon in Scotland around Loch Ness, where he may have actually seen the monster. The squadron was a small officer squadron, and they made many close friends, including the likes of J.B. and Daniel Wills and Michelle and Dave Marr. This time, Casey's moving up. He's number 1 of 12 captains in the squadron, and pushing past number 3 of 333 captains in the operations group. In the spring of 2011, Casey has mastered the RC-135. He's getting a little bored, so he decides to take on the mighty C-130 and proceeds to Little Rock while his family moves out to Navarre and buy a house and wait for Dad's arrival after training. For those of you who don't know, the C-130 is the best aircraft in the DoD inventory, except, of course, for the mighty UH-1N. But other than the Huey, C-130 is the best aircraft, and we only want the top navigators to ensure it gets where it needs to go on the highest priority missions. Sarah worked at Andrews Surgery Center, where she would watch and grow to love the triage teams in the emergency room mission. She is good under pressure. Bailey went to West Navarre, and he was now fully into football as a running back and defensive safety for the Raiders. Casey would drive up every weekend from Little Rock, Arkansas, so he wouldn't miss his son's game. Now, I Googled this last night because I just wanted to know. And this is 18 hours of driving per football game. He learned early where his priorities in life must be. He loves his family more than anything. So much so that after Casey started training at Kirtland, he called up Sarah on Super Bowl Sunday and said, "I can't take it another day without you." So she packed up the house and brought the kids out to Kirtland to be with Dad. And they have been fighting to be apart as little as possible ever since, which is hard to do in the military. At Kirtland, Casey learned to fly low-level missions, scraping over the terrain on the darkest nights using night vision goggles. He was so good that they proficiency advanced him over many syllabus events. It's kind of like skipping a grade or two if you use a school analogy. He was the #1 student that year. The family returns to Navarre, where Brody started playing baseball and football at 2.5 years old. There's a trend here. He was learning to walk and talk on the fields of friendly strife. His big brother had set the great example to emulate. Sports and high-level competition was in their blood, and this is family business. Casey is now a major and is in the top 10% of a very competitive field of officers at the 1st Special Operations Wing. In 2013, Casey deploys to Djibouti, Africa, where he's an expeditionary squadron commander. He flew 347 combat hours, exfilled a stranded soft ground team, or Special Operations Forces ground team, saving 11 lives. And he airdropped 64,000 pounds of kit to friendly troops on the ground. In 2014, Casey had one Christmas wish to Sarah. It was simple. He said, "I love our family so much, can you please double it?" He said, "I think we're ready for a girl, though." She said, "Yes, I'll have twins." And Sage and Sienna were born. Thankfully, Sarah is a veteran mom at this point, with those early training days at Randolph now paying off. From here, Casey went to ACSC. ACSC is where we send our top 20%. So he's making another cut, right? The family lived in Prattville. He learned a lot academically, and they experienced great family bonding. You know, he had been deploying quite a bit, so it was great for the family to be able to get some downtime together and get that reconnection going. From 2015 to 2018, the family was at Fort Bragg, where Casey was the #1 leader, a go-to officer for the toughest tasks. The family lived in Sanford, then moved to Southern Pines. Sarah is now going to community college to learn surgical technology, so she could be on that high-speed triage team she observed back while she was in Navarre. Bailey went 7-0 on the middle school travel team, and he won the MVP trophy. No surprise. Girls started their sports indoctrination, being carted around the field by Mom and Dad. Brody is all in on Dixie baseball. Later, Bailey moved up to high school ball, and Brody started tackle football in the quarterback position. Casey is moving on to #1 of 10 Joint Field Grade officers. He's put on major. And #1 of 15 Air Force majors. He was a top choice for the commanding general's biggest exercise priorities, and at JSOC they don't mess around. They only bring the talented individuals there. He was #1 of 5 branch chiefs, and he managed a $12 million budget, which I would love to have. In 2018, Casey moved back to Hurlburt with the twins and the boys and bought a new house in Navarre. It was hard leaving North Carolina. Sarah had to stay behind a few months to finish her degree. Bailey had to sacrifice some of his best friends, Ben and Nick. This is a family sacrifice business. They had great schools, dentists, doctors, all kinds of battle rhythms set up. And you just have to uproot and start over again. It's tough. It really is. Casey transitions to the Talon MC-130H. He received the Spirit 03 Superior Formal Award and Distinguished Graduate Nom in 2019. From 2020 to 2021, Casey became the commander for the 492nd Special Operations Support Squadron. He is a true leader and a gifted officer, as we forecasted back as a second lieutenant, in charge of those 31 officers. As we will hear in this decoration that will follow shortly, he accomplished many great feats as a commander, and he is my very best Wing Crisis Action Group director. He is an amazing, genuine, and thoughtful leader who cares about his airmen and creates a condition for them to thrive and be their very best. The Air Force is lucky to have you, and you will be sorely missed. The family is excited to move back home to Iowa to be closer to grandparents and family, but they're going to miss Bailey, who's now playing college ball down here in the South. So where their story started in Montgomery, kind of where it's a transition point where it ends. But I know that they leave with a heavy heart and definitely don't want to break that family up. But they know you're ready to fly. So talk about an awesome family who have served and lived a very full and adventurous life. So Casey, Sarah, you awesome Houston kiddos, thank you for sharing your lives with us. You have been a smashing, inspirational story for us all. As you look to a promising future with many blessings ahead, just remember that today is the oldest you have been and the youngest you will ever be. Make the most of it. Happy retirement, where every day can be a Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Nemo. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for Lieutenant Colonel Houston's medal presentation and the publishing of the retirement order.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. Lieutenant Colonel Casey J. Houston distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Commander, 492nd Special Operations Support Squadron and Wing Commander's Action Group Lead, 492nd Special Operations Wing. During this period, Colonel Houston secured $180,000 in operation support equipment and base support for the congressionally mandated A-29 Light Attack Aircraft program. He garnered a 40% increase in funded manpower positions and restructured his reserve man day usage to gain an additional 14 positions and restructured his personnel and increase his effective squadron manning by 72% in order to avert a mission stoppage to 4 squadrons and 2 groups. As the commander of the Wing's Medical Security Force Assistance Mission, Colonel Houston authored the Wing's Access to Care Plan, which incorporated an ambulatory care unit and created an on-call provider, saving over 2,500 man-hours and boosting medical care to our warfighters by 93%. Finally, Colonel Houston procured $472,000 in mission essential equipment to train more than 550 active duty and reserve personnel in survival, evasion, resistance, and escape techniques in order to meet geographic combatant command entry requirements. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Houston culminate in a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the publishing of the retirement orders.
Ready for this? Publish the order.
Attention to orders by order of the Secretary of the Air Force, Special Order AC-000784. Lieutenant Colonel Casey Houston is relieved from active duty, 492nd Special Operations Wing, Florida, effective 1 October 2022, and is hereby directed to proceed to his home of selection. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. In honor of Lieutenant Colonel Houston's retirement, we have a special certificate to present from the President of the United States. And it reads, Certificate of Appreciation for service in the Armed Forces of the United States, Lieutenant Colonel Casey J. Houston. I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of our grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You helped to maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of the military service. I trust that in the coming years you will maintain an active interest in the armed forces and the purpose for which you served. Those who follow in your footsteps will draw inspiration from your commitment, dedication, and sacrifices made to ensure the protection of our American freedoms. My best wishes to you for your happiness and success in the future. Signed, Joseph R. Biden, Commander-in-Chief. Every person retiring from active duty is presented with a special certificate of retirement to commemorate their active duty career, and it reads as follows. Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that Lieutenant Colonel Casey J. Huston, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Air Force on the first day of October, 2022. Signed, Caleb M. Nimmo, Colonel, Commander, 492nd Special Operations Wing, and signed, General Charles Q. Brown, Chief of Staff. At this time, I'd like to ask Mrs. Huston to come forward and join your husband on stage. To commemorate his over 20 years of service in the United States Air Force, Lieutenant Colonel Huston is presented with a retirement pin. Mrs. Huston, would you please place this pin on Lieutenant Colonel Huston's lapel to symbolize his transition from active duty to retired status? And most importantly, today's ceremony would not be possible without the support of family and the significant contributions and sacrifices they make. The Air Force deeply appreciates the supportive role you have taken in Lieutenant Colonel Huston's distinguished career and acknowledges your faithful service by presentation of a certificate of appreciation from General Charles Q. Brown, Chief of Staff, United States Air Force. Mrs. Huston is presented with a special certificate which reads as follows. Certificate of Appreciation. In grateful appreciation, the United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Mrs. Sarah Huston for the commitment and the numerous contributions that you made impacts the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Given this 16th day of June, 2022, signed Caleb M. Nimmo, Colonel, Commander, 492nd Special Operations Wing, and Charles Q. Brown, Chief of Staff. Brody, Bailey, Sage, and Sienna are also presented with a special certificate which reads as follows. Certificate of Appreciation from the United States Air Force. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Brody, Bailey, Sage, and Sienna Huston, on the occasion of the retirement of their father from active duty with the United States Air Force, have earned grateful appreciation for their own unselfish, faithful, and devoted service. Their unfailing support and understanding helped to make possible their father's lasting contributions to the nation. On this 16th day of June, 2022, signed Caleb M. Nimmo, Commander, 492nd Special Operations Wing.
I just want to make sure, did you get a good photograph for them? Okay, that's good. All right, that matters. All right. Thank you.
And now the Hurlburt Honor Guard will perform the flag folding ceremony.
Stand, attention. Step.
Let's go down.
Hold.
For more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and the design of the flag evolved into the one presented before you today. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the original 13 colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor. White signifies purity and innocence. And blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally, a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July 1969, the flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong planted it on the surface of the moon. Today, our flag flies on constellations of Air Force satellites that encircle our globe, and on the thin flash of our aircraft in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every airman who has served our great nation. The sun never sets on our U.S. Air Force, nor the flag we so proudly cherish. Since 1776, no generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending our freedom. Today, airmen remain committed to preserving the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on lands and skies around the world. It is their responsibility, our responsibility, to continue to protect and serve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we as Americans enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and to all. Long may it wave. On behalf of the 492nd Special Operations Wing, the Wing Director of Staff, Mr. Richard Leibach, will now present a gift to Lieutenant Colonel Huston.
Casey. So when Casey first came in to our wing, he was our Inspector General. And as you can imagine, he did an awesome job there. He was poking people in the eyes when he was supposed to be poking people in the eyes, and poking people in the eyes when he wasn't supposed to poke them in the eyes. And that's why I wear glasses now. So from there, you could expect he would go off to be a squadron commander. Did great things. You were tough but fair. Everyone that works for you said that, so that's awesome. Now you can go off and grow your hair to look like his. That'd be awesome. Do that. So on behalf of the men and women of the 492nd South, we'd like to present you this gift. This is part of our heritage. You kept our heritage strong, and we appreciate you for that. So much you appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Casey J. Huston, retired.
Wow. That's cool. So this may come as a big surprise to y'all, but I'm not a big fan of like public attention and, you know, people talking nice about me. So I'm going to keep this fairly brief. Colonel Nemo did a great job of kind of encapsulating our career and hit the high points in the family just like I would have liked him to, so I appreciate that. I'd be remiss though, but first and foremost, and I'm going to be referring to my notes just so I don't screw this up. That's the last thing, so I don't want to screw it up. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Without our family's trust in His plans and in our lives, the last 20 years would have seemed insurmountable. While the path to today may not always have been easy in hindsight, He provided at every turn and kept us together, and for that I'm eternally grateful. The one thing I would ask you, Lord, is, are you sure you want a smooth dial? You got about 24 hours. Just let me know. To Colonel Nemo, thank you for the kind words, and as I was saying out front, I'm glad they were kind because that would have completely derailed the rest of my speech if you were saying bad things about me. But thank you for your kind words and agreeing to preside over the ceremony today. I know you guys are juggling a lot within the wing today. And I'm grateful that you have taken the time to spend it with Sarah and I and the family. We do wish you the best of luck in the future as a wing. I think there's a lot of great things ahead for the 492nd. To the distinguished guests from all the units and organizations, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend the ceremony with us today. It's greatly appreciated. And Sarah and the kids and I will be grateful eternally. To Lieutenant Fury, Captain Surak, Sergeants Holbins, Burks, Martin, Jensen, Senior Airman McCarroll, Ms. Blake, was it the Hurlburt Honor Guard?
Yes, sir.
The Hurlburt Honor Guard, the chaplain, and all the other volunteers. Thank you for the time and effort you put in to make this a memorable occasion for my family and I. And these ceremonies are not easy undertakings, and your efforts are truly appreciated. Thank you. To our family and friends, to our family and relatives in attendance, thank you for celebrating with us today. I know at times you've questioned the many paths the military has taken our family down in the past 20 years, but I felt it 20 years ago and still feel it today. The profession of arms is the most honorable of endeavors. And we are appreciative of your love and support in allowing us to pursue that. Now that our military career is coming to a close, we look forward to the time we'll be able to spend together and the experiences we will share. To our friends and acquaintances who we've had the pleasure of meeting and working with throughout the years, thank you for attending. Sarah, the kids, and I greatly appreciate it, and we will always look back with fond memories of the many connections we've made across the world and experiences we shared together. We look forward to staying connected in the coming years. To those that I've known in service who are no longer with us, as mentioned before, the profession of arms is the most honorable of professions. I'm honored to have served alongside the best men and women this nation has to offer, from the beginning of my career to the end, in assignments and deployments spanning the globe. I've been witness to men and women who voluntarily lay their lives on the line in the defense of our nation. To those that we have known and served alongside who have made the ultimate sacrifice, know that you're not forgotten, and I have, and future generations of service members will, attempt to honor your sacrifice. Rest easy, my friends. Sorry. I told Sergeant Burks it wasn't going to happen. To my family. Sienna, you're my little punk. I love your inquisitive mind and caring but on your nature. You keep me honest with your daily questions and care without question. Don't ever lose this, as the world needs more of this. Daddy loves you. Sage. You're my little sweetheart. I love your caring, sweet, and motherly nature. You live life with joy, you laugh often, and you love deeply. Never lose this. Daddy loves you. Okay, Brody. You're our little miracle kid. Never thought we were going to have another one, kid, until you showed up. I love your spirit and inquisitive nature as well. You will go far, I have no doubt. Now get up here and give me a hug. So funny tangent story, just to give me to collect my thoughts. Last night we were talking, and he said, what do we have to do at the ceremony? And I said, well, at some point you're going to have to get up and give me a hug and a kiss. And he's like, well, how many people are there? And he's like, I was like, probably about 200, 250. And he said, well, what happens if I don't? And I said, well, they're not going to let me retire. And he looks at me, straight faced, and says, well, you're going to be in for another 20 years. That's my boy. Love you, Bubba. Bailey, you're the first and the oldest. I'm proud of the man you've become. Despite bearing the brunt of military lifestyle, the moves and dad away from home time, you actually turned out pretty good. You're the best role model your brother and sisters could ask for. Your caring nature, your drive, and your resiliency are impressive. I'm pretty sure I can still take you, though. Maybe. Sarah, well, we made it. Who would have thought 2 kids from Iowa would have lived the life we've lived so far? Well, I know it hasn't been easy. Your ability to navigate our military career as a spouse is truly impressive. What is equally impressive is your ability to put up with me. We've had a lifetime of experiences of 20 years, both good and bad. We made it through them all, and I look forward to the next chapter in our life. As I walk off the stage, know that I'm honored to have had the opportunity to serve our great nation. I look forward to the coming days and what they have in store for us in this next phase of our life. Godspeed and farewell.
Ladies and gentlemen, The men and the women of the 492nd Special Operations Wing are proud to have served with Lieutenant Colonel Huston and wish him and his family much happiness and success in the future. Please stand for the departure of the official party and the playing of the Air Force song.
Sing it loud.